Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun, Benzion. Today's daf is Kesubos Iyun Vav, number 76. We have a really great share for you today to describe and to explain this concept of Kan Ninsu Kan Hayu, which is really the maskana of the Gemara and the best way of explaining the Mishnah that we had on the bottom of Ayin Hayam and Aleph. The Mishnah says Ayin Hayam and Aleph on the bottom. Apparently, he made a kiddushin al tanai. He made a stipulation. I don't want my woman to have mumin, my wife. And after the Eriston, they find mumin, the Beis Aviyah. So the father has to bring proof if he wants the kiddushin to be a valid kiddushin. He has to bring proof that the mumin happened after the Eriston. He made the kiddushin amanashe mumin. So the father will prove the mumin happened after the Eriston. In the Seifa, the Mishnah says. Once he already gets married, she goes into his rishus, and first night of the marriage, they consummate the marriage, and then he finds the mumin. So it's the burden of proof is on the husband to prove that the mumin were there before the erison and not after the erison. Now, seemingly the Reish and Seifa don't make sense because the Reisha seems to be passing like Rabbi Yeshua on Daf Yud Beis, and the Seifa seems to be passing like Rabbi Leah on Daf Yud Beis. Who do we believe? Believe the girl or we believe the husband, right? And that was a case of rape, right? Was she raped after the Erisson or before the Erisson? How much of a ksuba is she entitled to get as a psula or a ba'ula? It's machlokas tanoim. So it seems to be these two opinions. So what's the difference, the Reisha and the Seifa? So the answer given in Rav, and eventually the Gemara in Ayin Vav Beis backs this up from a statement of Shmuel, is that there's a concept called kan nimsu kan hayu, meaning whatever the mumin were found, it doesn't mean we assume they're there, because an assumption is a chazaka. Chazaka is an assumption. It's like a sfeik, a reasonable doubt, right? A suffix is 50%, sfeik is 50% of 50%, 75%. 70% is a chazaka, is a status quo, or it's just a generally assumed phenomenon, right? Chazaka mashdaka yed adam hareu shalo. We can strongly assume if it's in a person's possession, it belongs to him. That's an assumption, halacha. It carries weight, but not enough weight to be motzi mamon. You need a proof, raya a motzi mamon. You need beyond a reasonable doubt to be motzi mamon. So all you have is a chazaka. The Gemara explained earlier that Rabbi Gamliel, who said he believed the woman by the case of Ones, he had a chazkes haguf, plus you have amigo plus a chazkes haguf. Now here, we have something called kan nimsu kan hayu. What exactly is kan nimsu kan hayu? Just because the women are found when she got married, so we assume it happened after the erison. And if it happened, the woman happened when she was in her father's house, we assume it happened in her father's house and not before the erison. So what does it mean exactly? So kan nimsu kan hayu is a thing called a tliya. A tliya means, a lot of times, let's say you have meiser, you have truma and chulin. One basket of truma, one basket of chulin, and you have two baskets, and one thing falls into one thing falls into the other. So there's something called in halakha called a tliya. We like to assume, assume is the wrong word. We like to hang our hats. It's a tliya. You're tola. You hang something on a nail, right? You hang something on a nail. We have what to hang our hats on, basically. It's something. It's not a status quo. It's not even an assumption. It's a suspicion. I would say it's a suspicion. I would say, nothing in halacha is valid unless it's 65%. Because like when you go to school, 65% is the mark of passing. If you're below 65%, it's failing. It's in the rubric, a 50% suffix or 64% suffix is the same thing. 65% is already a tliya. 65%, maybe even 70% is a tliya, or suspicion, a chashad, something like that. So a tliya and a chashad, maybe two different things. We'll talk about that more. But right now we're assuming it's sort of the same thing. But a tliya will assume it's 65%. So you have what we call another 15% proof. So that doesn't mean anything in halacha, right? That's not going to be enough. We're being motzi mamon over here. The father's being motzi mamon from the husband, right? If the movement happened after she got married already, so the burden of proof is on the husband. The father's being motzi the mamon. How is he being motzi the mamon over here with 15% proof, with 65% proof? You need 80% proof. You need beyond the reasonable doubt to be motzi mamon. The answer is, like the Gemara explains, is that when you have first of all, you have three chazakas here. you have two competing chazakas about mumen. One chazak is a husband wouldn't marry his wife. He wouldn't be together with his wife. Obviously, he sees her naked before they're together. If he saw the mumen, he's happy with the mumen. Eight of them show to bekos elam kim bodko, right? He's not together with her unless he is okay with her body. There's another chazaka that an opposing chazaka that a person normally, if she had mumen, he wouldn't be okay with mumen. So even if he saw it, there's no way he'd be okay with it. Obviously, he didn't see the mumen, so it's not his fault. So those chazakas cancel each other out. But you do have another chazaka called chezkas haguf, meaning presumably she was born without a mum, right? The Gemara discusses a different type of mum which she was born with, an extra finger. But the mumim we're talking about are mumim that happen later on in life, defects that happen, a blemish that happens later on in life. So she was born with an unblemished body, we assume, and therefore the blemish happened at the latest possible time. So therefore, did it happen before the Erisin or after the Erisin? We'll assume it happened after the Erisin. So the cheskas haguf. So you have a cheskas haguf, a chazaka, which is 75%. Another 25% past a suffix of 3%. And now that's where kanim sukan hayu comes in, is that once the suffix happened in the husband's house, so I don't really understand this fully, but if it happened here, that's where, if the suffix arose here, that's where it happened. It's sort of like Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is exactly the opposite, I mean, it is part of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is, the worst that can happen will happen. The worst that can happen is sort of, mum is a bad thing. The worst can happen happens where it happened, in the husband's house, right? Where did it happen? Happen where they are now. That's just tliya. It's a little bit of proof. It's not so much. It's maybe a little less than a suspicion, but it's a tliya. It's something we're told that we hang our hats on. So you got 15% plus you get the chazaka 25%, 75%. So you have 15% plus 75% is 90%. 90% proof is very good proof, maybe even better than shtei edim. And once you have 90% proof, so then that's how kanim sukan hayu works. The Gemara wasn't saying cheskas haguf is good enough. The Gemara was saying cheskas haguf plus kanim sukan hayu, which is tliya, which is 15% plus a 25%. So you already got 40% past the 50%, 90% versus 10%. 90% is good enough, right? The mostly the mammon, and therefore, if the suffix, the mum was found when she already was married, the base baila, kanim sukan hayu joins together with cheskas haguf. The husband is able, the father is able to mostly the mammon from the husband and get, say it was a valid kedushin, and the kedushin is a good kedushin. They're married, and she deserves a ksuba, and the marriage was consummated, and she deserves a ksuba, and that's the conclusion of today's share. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.